Parliament just exploded in chaos. Keir Starmer caught completely off guard, dodging and deflecting like a man with everything to hide. Was he blindsided by explosive questions over Peter Mandelson's disturbing ties to convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein? Or is the Prime Minister desperately trying to bury the truth? While Tories clash over Muslims not welcome praying in Trafalgar Square, Starmer attacks instead of answering. What is he scared of? What is he hiding? Is this weak leadership, or the beginning of the end for Starmer? Stick around, the full explosive breakdown will shock you.
Saying that Muslims are not welcome to prayer in Trafalgar Square. She should remove him from their front bench. Ported going into the war without thinking through the consequences. That is a huge error of judgment. I realise they don't want to talk about it ever again.
Leader of the opposition asked him about Mandelson again, and he answered with an attack on the Shadow Justice Secretary. He was asked about Mandelson again and talked about protests in London. What is he scared of?
So her position is that the Shadow Justice Secretary is defending British values when he says Muslims praying together in Trafalgar Square are not welcome. Mr. Speaker, even Tommy Robinson, I can hardly believe I'm saying this, has said today that if the Shadow Justice Secretary had made these hateful comments 2 years ago, the Conservative Party would have kicked him out. Now, Tommy Robinson isn't some sort of moral signpost. He was pointing out how much their party has changed. They're more inclined to his views, and he's right about that. The fact that he's sitting on her front bench shows she's too weak and has got absolutely no judgment.
The Prime Minister wants to talk about my leadership. I'm shocked because his former deputy has just fired the starting gun on the race to replace him. And I'll tell him one thing, she and I both agree that this weak man should be replaced by a strong woman.
Andrew Snowden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Every week the Prime Minister comes here and reads out this pre-scripted nonsense that bears no resemblance to the questions he's actually asked. The Leader of the Opposition asked him about Peter Mandelson and he answered about the war in Iran. The Leader of the Opposition asked him about Mandelson again and he answered with an attack on the Shadow Justice Secretary. He was asked about Mandelson again and talked about protests in London. What is he scared of? What is he hiding? For a man who has spent years presenting himself as a forensic investigator, he has certainly had a blind spot to the details for this convicted paedophile with a friend in high Labour places. So I shall ask him again, when he found out that Lord Mandelson had an ongoing relationship with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, did he speak to him personally before appointing him ambassador to the United States?
Mr. Speaker, we've set out the... But I know why they don't want to. They don't want to talk about the war because they supported going into the war without thinking through the consequences. That is a huge error of judgment. I realise they don't want to talk about it ever again. I'm not surprised. Nor do they want to talk about the Shadow Justice Secretary saying that Muslims are not welcome to prayer in Trafalgar Square. She should remove him from their front bench, or I suspect he'll be up there next on that trail.
Is Keir Starmer still in full control of Downing Street, or did today's Parliament session turn into a complete exposure and breakdown of his leadership? This wasn't just another PMQs, it was a brutal, heated confrontation where we saw nothing but deflections, attacks and desperate attempts to dodge the real questions. Kemi Badenoch repeatedly grilled him about Peter Mandelson's ongoing links with convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and whether he spoke to him before appointing him US ambassador, but Starmer kept attacking the Shadow Justice Secretary instead. Nick Timothy had called the mass Muslim prayers in Trafalgar Square an act of domination and part of the Islamist playbook. Starmer branded it utterly appalling and demanded Kemi sack him, claiming it shows she's weak and has zero judgment. Starmer even claimed that even Tommy Robinson said the Conservatives have changed so much that they are now openly supporting views like Nick Timothy's. The most shocking question remains, is Starmer so scared of the Mandelson scandal that he can't give a straight answer, or is this the beginning of the end for his political career and a total loss of grip?